everyone. So, like I said in like a couple videos ago, I'm going to start doing Fragment Friday, and this is my first one. And Fragment Friday is when you read like a small portion from a book, like either your favorite book or a book you're currently reading. And this was hosted and created by the Book Chic. Yeah. So I'm going to be reading from Intertwined by Jenna Showalter, and I'm currently reading this on chapter 5, so I'm just going to read a small portion from chapter 5 because the chapters are long. So yeah. Just tell you what happened already. It's about a boy named Aiden, and he has 4 souls living in him, and their names are Elijah, Eve, Caleb, and Julian. Julian can rise the dead. Elijah can see the future. Eve control people. Caleb can read people's mind. Elijah told him about this vision he had about this girl who's going to come into his life and make everything better. And Aiden wants to join school so he could be with that girl because somehow she makes all the souls go quiet, and he likes the feeling of that. So he's now starting school. The day began like any other for Marianne. She crawled out of bed, showered, tugged on the clothes she laid out the night before, and blow-dried her hair while outlining what she needed to turn in or which upcoming test to study for. This week's most important exam was chemistry, one of her hardest subjects. Only problem was thoughts of Aiden Stone kept interfering. Penny had admitted to giving him Marianne's number, so why hadn't he called? An entire week had passed. Part of her had expected it and had jumped every time her phone had rung. He'd seemed so eager to talk to her. The other part of her, however, had hoped that he hadn't contacted her. He was gorgeous, but after the first initial attraction, she felt only confused and friendly toward him. When she wasn't experiencing that strange urge to run, did she even want to be his friend? Being near him was like being punched in the chest, like her body only wanted to escape him. Her mind, though, it mourned his loss, mourned as if he were somehow dear to her. Steam began to rise from her scalp, and she hurriedly switched the dryer off. She had stopped thinking of that boy. Already he was screwing with her mind and making it mush. Proving that she had been right to date Tucker and stay with him these last few months, Tucker always made her feel pretty, boosting her self-esteem, but didn't consume her. He gave her the space she needed. With a sigh, she trudged downstairs. Her dad had breakfast ready, pecan waffles with blueberry syrup. She ate 2 while he read the paper and drank his coffee, the usual routine. Want to ride to school? He asked. He folded his paper and set it aside, peering over at her expectantly. He always knew when she'd finished eating without being told. Now, walking will increase the amount of oxygen in my brain, which will help as I mentally pore through my notes about synthesizing the oxide. Which was only the reason she didn't ride with Tucker, though. He, too, always offered. He liked to chat, and that would have distracted her. Penny perpetually late, so she had a no-go as well. Her dad's lips twitched into a smile, and he shook his head, always studying. When he smiled like that, his entire face lit up, and she could see why her friends questioned him. In looks, he was her opposite. He had blonde hair and blue eyes. He was brawny where she was slim. The only thing they had in common was their youth, so he was fond of saying. He was only 35, which was young for a parent. Again, words straight from his mouth. He'd married her mom soon after high school, and they had her right away. Maybe that's why they'd marry, because of her. That wasn't why they'd stay together, though. They fought a lot, but they clearly loved each other. The way they stared over at each other, expressions soft, and had proof of that. But sometimes because of the things they verbally hurled at each other, Marianne used to suspect her dad had cheated on her and her mother, and never got over it. You wish I was her, don't you? Her mother had liked to shout at him. He'd always deny it. For many years, Marianne had resented him for the possibility. Her sweet mother hadn't worked, had stayed home and taken care of Marianne, the house and all the chores. But when she died, his utter despondency convinced Marianne of his innocence. Plus, he had been alone now for several years. He hadn't gone on a single date, hadn't even glanced at another woman. "You remind me more of your mom every day," he said, his mind obviously taking the same path as hers had. His eyes glazed with memories, his mouth soft with smile, not just in appearance either. She loved chemistry too. Are you kidding? She hated math and chemistry. It's filled with little equations that would have driven her insane. The only homework her mom had been able to help her with was English and art. Besides, who said I love chemistry? I do. It's because it's necessary. So I'm going to stop there, and that was just a small read from chapter 5. And these chapters are pretty long, like more than 20 pages long. Yeah, I find that long. So, yeah. So that's my first Fragment Friday, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!